Sadar, Abhinandan, Abhar, thank you and welcome for participating in this panel too, which is going to be very interesting. My name is Ram Narayan Tiwari. I am a local VHPA chapter president, and it is my honor and privilege to be moderating this panel. And what is the theme of the panel is the challenges faced by Hindus in Islamic regions. What has been the plight of Hindus in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Kashmir? And what is the source of Hindu ethnocide within Islam? So this is a theme of the panel. And I say that we are fortunate and honored to have esteemed panelist, Ms. Sudha Jagannathan ji and Tahir Aslam Gora ji. They are going to share their views, anecdotes, examples, and implementation ideas on this timely and important topic. This panel is for 60 minutes, so there will be 3 segments, 20 minutes for each speaker, and remaining 20 minutes will be for question and answers. I'm requesting the participants that they should share their location in the chat box. And if they have any question, they should put in Q&A box. I hope you will cooperate with us and remaining civil in their chat box. Now let me briefly introduce. I am supposed that our speakers will be telling more about themselves. So here is a brief introduction. Ms. Sudha Jagannathan, she is a national team member of Chingari, which stands for Coalition for Hindu Girls Abducted and Their Rights Project, Chingari project. Sudhaji is a team member of that. She is an American technology professional. She is active with grassroots advocacy programs addressing Hindu human rights in the US and abroad, with great goal of raising awareness of violations that impact Hindus with lawmakers, community leaders, and youth groups. Next is speaker and panelist is Sri Tahir Aslam Gora ji. He is a Canadian broadcaster, editor, publisher, author, journalist, activist. He is a progressive reformist Islamism. He has done English to Urdu translation, writer of fiction and non-fiction. He is a campaigner against the dangers of the political Islam. He rejects interpretation of Islam that call for any violence, social injustice, and politicized Islam. His goal is to reclaim the progressive spirit with which Islam was born in 7th century. He has authored Danger of Political Islam to Canada with a warning to America, exposing how the ideology of political Islam threatens countries and governments around the world. Tahir Goraji is the recipient of Queen Diamond Jubilee Medal for his services in Canada. He is the founder of Canadian Thinkers Forum, the Progressive Muslim Institute Canada, and Muslim Committees Against Anti-Semitism. As a member of Muslim Reform Movement and founder of CEO of TAG TV, he holds progressive ideology and supports freedom of expression. So thank you both. And Sudhaji, now floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, Ramji and HUA for inviting me. And namaste, Tahirji. So we are talking about a very important topic, the challenges faced by Hindus in the nation surrounding India and also in Kashmir. And I want to pick up where Sushil Pandit ji just left off, where he said, the rising Hindu phobia in the West is coming because our message is being heard. Global Hindus are not standing back, which is very good to see. And I have to say, I lived in the United States for 40 years. It's only in the last few years that I've started to engage myself in understanding what is happening to our community in the US and abroad and taking action. And I'm seeing more and more people coming into the forefront. And that is very, very hopeful. And I think that is how we can change the narrative, set our record straight about the plight of Hindus everywhere, right? So with that, I think the way I want to address the question of the challenges and the plight of Hindus is by remembering what 2021 represents today. And I'm going to start with a genocide, a massacre that happened to the Hindu community 100 years ago. So this is a centennial of what an incident in southern India called the Mapila atrocity or the riots. And this pattern, what happened there, is important to remember because it replicates in every other incident. So in 1921, before the independence of India, the Muslim community in northern Kerala rose up and attacked the Hindu community, killed many, maimed and tossed bodies into wells, and forcibly converted people, looted and burned homes, desecrated temples. A lot of those desecrated temples are still ruins. I'm just mentioning this because that pattern of behavior is what we see in the following incidents that have happened ever since. So from the 100 years, let's go to about 30 years ago, 1990s. What happened in Kashmir? The Kashmiri Hindus had seen their community exodus from that state over 7 times. The last one was in the early 1990s, where over 350,000 Kashmiris had to leave the land of their ancestors. And they became refugees in their own nation. Many of them dispersed to other parts of the world and have made a life of their own. But the sad thing is, what hope do they have to ever go back and visit their ancestral lands? That is even today in danger. Even though Hindus had been coming back, there is a wave of violence happening in Kashmir right now. And again, another exodus of the small community that did try to go back. So what I want to also say is that going from India now to Afghanistan, Afghanistan is a perfect example of what happens to Hindus when we collectively do not stand up. There are 0 Hindus, or maybe close to 0. There is one Hindu, a priest in the temple in Kandahar. He's staying back because he wants to light the lamp in that temple, even at the risk of his own life. So Afghanistan, was Hindu at one time, Buddhist at another time, had a rich culture of history and traditions. But now they're denuded of all minorities. What does that mean, having no diversity in a nation? That's very, very sad. From there, let's go to Bangladesh. 2021 represents the 50 years of Bangladesh's independence. Bangladesh's independence was won on the backs of 2 to 3 million people killed, mostly Hindus, and about 200,000 plus women assaulted, looting, destruction of temples, and then running out the Hindus from that nation. In 1950s, the population of Bangladesh was around 25 to 30% of the entire population. That's a significant number of Hindus. But today, it's 8.5%. How did that happen? What happened to the rest of the Hindus? They were killed. They were forcibly converted. And violence continues to happen in Bangladesh. So in the past 10 days, we have seen a very violent attack on the Hindu community, especially during a holy festival of Navaratri, or for the Bengalis, it's the Durga Puja. And it's been proven through CCTV, and the police apparently arrested a Muslim man, Iqbal Hussain, who had planted a Quran in a temple on a lap of Hanuman, Hanumanji, who's a revered deity for the Hindus, and took pictures and posted it on social media. Of course, the population rose up, I mean, a blasphemy charge, right? With no proof other than this picture. They attacked and killed, desecrated the stages set up for the Durga Puja, and the violence is still continuing. The ISKCON temple in that part of Bangladesh was attacked as the devotees had finished their puja, sitting down to a meal, which is a prasad, which is, after being offered to the deity, they are sitting down to a peaceful lunch. From 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., they were attacked. A priest was killed. It's kind of hard to understand, why a minority community is held in such contempt. And especially a minority community, as Sushilji had mentioned, they don't pose any threats. They are not terrorists. They are not committing violence. Violence is being visited upon them. So in the first few days, nobody said anything. The world said nothing about this. But the Hindu community started to rise up, demand that the world say something about it. Of course, then the US ambassador to Bangladesh, the US government itself, and United Nations and many others have come out and started to condemn. But they don't name the perpetrator. They don't name the victim. In my view, that is a re-victimization of the Hindus when you don't name the victim and the perpetrator. The perpetrators were the Muslim mobs and the victims were Hindus. So we have to remember that. Now, from Bangladesh, let me address the question of Pakistan. Pakistan is known for many things around the world as a terrorist capital and many, many other things. But Pakistan also has a dubious reputation for forced abductions of girls of minority religions, forced conversions, and it's a state-sanctioned pogrom or ethnic cleansing of a minority community. So in 1947, when Pakistan gained independence from the subcontinent of India, there were about 12.9% Hindus in the community, particularly in the province of Sindh. Today, shocking, it's 1.6%. Same pattern in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Kashmir, everywhere else has happened in Pakistan. Pakistan has taken it one step forward. Every year, on average, 1,000 girls of the minority religions, which is mostly Hindu, Christian, Sikh, are forcibly abducted from their families or on their way from college or market or wherever, and taken away by Muslim men, usually, and assaulted, forcibly converted, and sometimes married off to old men, or many times sold into the slave markets. The US CIRF ambassador at large, Sam Brownback, last year, after visiting that region, he came back and said, Pakistan is selling Hindu and Christian girls to China. I hope I can say right now, is Pakistan in the pimping business? Is this how they should treat their minority people? And to add, more to this injury, here is something else that has happened. Just recently in the Pakistani parliament, a bill was introduced to address the condition of the minorities and offer them some basic human rights. And what happened? The Ministry of Religious Affairs and Interreligious Harmony declared that the bill was un-Islamic. I'm wondering, what does it mean, interreligious harmony? If they can't even help the girls of the minority population. And let me just point out what it means to remove girls from a Hindu community. Girls and women are the keepers of our dharma, our culture and traditions. When a girl is removed from our community, that community starts to disintegrate from inside out. This is one of the many reasons why the Hindu population in Pakistan is so low at this time. Very quickly, there'll be no Hindus or Sikhs or left in Pakistan. And that is what I'm sure Pakistan wants to see. So just looking at the big picture, in Pakistan, we want to say every year, every day, we get the news of these girls abducted. The world cries a little bit and then goes back to business as usual. So the Chingari project, which is under the brand of Hindu Pact, was formed to raise attention at a global level about these girls and to demand basic human rights for these girls. And towards that goal, on September 18th, we did silent vigils in over a dozen cities. And not only in the US, we were supported by Hindu communities in Europe, Africa, and Australia. And we are raising more awareness with our lawmakers and the US government. Why? Because the US government offers billions of dollars to Pakistan. Taxpayer money is going to Pakistan. Now we are demanding that the US government attach human rights conditions to that subsidy that is being offered to them. So these are efforts that we are bringing up. And I see that JG has posted a Chingari video in chat. I would encourage all of you to please watch that video, understand the issue, take action. If you are in the US or outside India, anywhere, take action with your lawmakers, with your community, educate them. And, so we just need to stop the violence against these girls and the Hindus in Pakistan. We want to do the same in Bangladesh and anywhere else. But at this time, I also want to point out something. I will be reading out the stories of 3 girls in Pakistan. And then we can conclude in terms of what are the things that Hindus need to do to slow down and stop the genocide of Hindus, stop removing Hindus from any community, beyond these 3 nations. Because what's happened in these 3 nations may be irreversible right now, but at least we can find them a little solace, through some actions we can take. So with that, let me start with one story. Wrinkle Kumari in 2012 from the Sindh province. She was abducted at gunpoint by a few Muslim men. One of them married her after assaulting her and forcibly converting her. After her parents complained and she was brought to court, this is what she said: "There is no justice for Hindus in Pakistan. Kill me here, now, in court, but do not send me back to the shelter. I want to go back to my parents." Well, in the court, when she cried, what happened was there is a cleric in the Sindh area who is in charge of this program. This is a state-sanctioned program of the Hindus. And he slapped her. The court did nothing. So we don't know what's happened with her life. Is she still alive or dead? Is she in a slave market? We just don't know. The second story is from 2021. This happened in March. This came in the news. Kavita Ode, 13-year-old Hindu girl, abducted and forcibly converted, married off to her abductor. When these families go to court, what the court says is, the girl is now, has a period, so she can be married off. And she's converted, so she's now a Muslim and she has to live with a rapist. I don't know, anywhere in the world will this be accepted, but we accept it in Pakistan. The third girl is Reena Megwar, and I want to call this out particularly. It's also in the video or in the chat. This girl's plight started in February, and she somehow got onto the terrace of her abductor's home and was crying out to anyone who can help her. Nobody was there to help, but with her family pressurizing, the police and the courts brought her to court. The court sent her back. Then the family threatened to, the family was threatened with violence. But at least she was eventually returned to the family. That doesn't mean they are safe. that probably puts them in more danger. So this is a reality of girls in Pakistan. So the harsh reality is that there are many Wrinkle Kumaris and Kavita Odes and Reenas in Pakistan. And it is time that we bring attention and put a stop to this. As a world community, we should use everything that is at our, in our powers to hold a country like Pakistan accountable for its actions, particularly when it comes to minorities. So with that, I just want to conclude by saying that even with all of this proof of abuse against Hindus, the Hindus are still called aggressors. We are not allowed to claim victimhood because the other side has taken control of that term. Hindu is expected to always remain silent. Well, I'm challenging that particular demand. I will not stay silent. I decided to join Chingari and other advocacy movements because I refuse to stay silent. And I'm proud of my Hindu brothers and sisters around the globe who are standing up and pushing back. And I want to say we started off by some of the movements that were happening in the United States itself, where 7 cities acted against the Citizenship Amendment Act, which was intended to help the Wrinkle Kumari, Kavitas, and the Reenas and their families when they run away from Pakistan to avoid being kidnapped. And we stopped that train wreck in Chicago. We will keep an eye out on it and stop it again wherever it comes. The Dismantle Hindu, the Global Hindu Tour or the Hinduism, all those 40 universities or 40 plus universities are on notice that we are paying attention. We are telling them, you want to chalk off your outcome number 1? Okay, 0 Hindus in Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh on the way to 0. Is this what you want to accomplish? Is this your educational outcome that you want your students to go out with? We have to challenge them. When we stand up, I find that we get a good positive outcome of it. So with that, I want to thank HUA and thank everyone in the audience for listening to this. Take action. That's my last word to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhaji. And that was wonderful. It was very informative. And I hope with your talk, some people will get motivated and join Chingari. And all questions will be answered after the second speaker has spoken. So please keep writing your questions in the Q&A box, and we will answer them after Tahir Goraji's talk. Tahir Goraji, now floor is yours.
Tahir, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ramji. I really appreciate for having me in this discussion. First of all, I'm very grateful to Sushil Pandit ji, Sudha ji, Kalyan ji, Jay Bansal bhai, that we are talking on this very vital issue. In this session, we are talking on this delicate issue that what has been the plight of Hindus in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Kashmir. What is the source of the Hindu ethnocide within Islam? In my opinion, it's not a question of plight of Hindus in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Kashmir only. Here is also a question mark regarding plight of Hindus in mainland of Hindustan and plight of Hindus worldwide, especially in the wake of so much stereotype against Hindus and Hindutva. Our second important question, what is the source of the Hindu ethnocide within Islam? I would like to address second question at first place because its analysis may lead us to the answer of first question. So let's refresh ourselves a bit about horrific history pages of Hindu ethnocide within Islam. Arabs and Hindus had trade and diplomatic relations before the invention of Islam. Then Islam surfaced in Arabia around 610 AD. A significant number of Arabs started converting into Islam. At the same time, some Muslims started fleeing Arabia to find refuge in India. They were being chased by their powerful Muslim rulers at the time. Simultaneously, a few Hindu converted to Islam on those early days. According to one history reference, the first mosque of India, Cheraman Juma Masjid, was built in 620 in Kerala by Cheraman Perumal Bhaskara Ravi Verma. The first Arab Islamic invasion of India was attempted in 636 AD but got defeated by our Hindu rulers. A second naval expedition was sent to conquer boroughs on the coast of southern Gujarat. This attack was repelled and the Arabs were driven back successfully. Despite Muhammad bin Qasim's victory in Sindh battle in 712, a series of battles took place between the Islamic Caliphate and the Hindu kingdoms to the east of the Indus River in the first half of the 8th century. Between 724 and 810, a series of battles took place between the Arabs and King Nagabhata I of the Pratihara dynasty, King Vikram Aditya II of the Chalukya dynasty, and other small Indian kingdoms in the north. Nagabhata of the Pratihari dynasty defeated a major Arab expedition in Malwa. From the south, Vikram Aditya II sent his general who defeated the Arabs in Gujarat. Later in 776, a naval expedition by the Arabs was defeated by the Sindhava naval fleet under Akuka I. The Arab defeats led to an end of their eastward expansion and later manifested in the overthrow of Arab rulers in Sindh itself and establishment of so-called indigenous Muslim Rajput dynasty, such as Somras. The reason for quoting few lines from history: Muslim invaders from Arabia could not get easy ride in India. They looted Bharat's wealth, destroyed ancient civilization as much they could. But our own scholars ignored those invaders' genocide and looting. Even our historian turned politician, Mr. Shashi Tharoor, criticized heavily and justly Brits for looting on one hand, but on the other hand, considers Muslim rulers well integrated into Indian civilization. Mr. Tharoor knows that there are no Brit voters in his constituency, but got a significant vote banks from the community that likes to associate herself with Muslim rulers. So there is a tiny example of about what is the source of the Hindu ethnocide within Islam. Now the descendants of those Muslim rulers who were mainly converts and of Hindu lineage started claiming as foreign rulers and Arabs. Let's take a quick view of Persian and Turk rulers who caused havoc across Bharat. Before the arrival of Islam in 7th century, there were a number of religions practiced in ancient Afghanistan, Iran, and Greater Turkestan, including Zoroastrianism, Surya worship, paganism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Later, those converts, then carrying with Muslim flags, Persians and Turks inflicted their barbarism on India. Then we witnessed two-nation theory, introduced by Brits and celebrated by some Muslim pockets in India. Ironically, the Muslims who cherished this true nation theory were mainly Muslims of Hindu ancestry. So the source of the Hindu ethnocide within Islam comes and remains within India, precisely in our modern times. The source of Hindu ethnocide is no longer Arabia, Persia, or Turkestan. It is within Muslims from Pakistan as well as from Bangladesh. It is being said that more Muslims opted to stay in India rather than going to Pakistan. The Muslim elite hoped to run the country right after independence. They somehow managed to do it directly or indirectly through secularism or through playing victim card. Now the opposition parties in India are facilitating Hindu ethnocide groups and worldwide left to creating an international pressure on Hindu patriots. In this environment, the plight of Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh is deepening more. We are witnessing increased attacks on Hindus in both countries. Hindu girls are forcefully converted to Islam in Pakistan on daily basis because Pakistan teaches hatred towards Hindus in its school textbooks. Let's have a look at the bleak human rights situation in Pakistan. What just described by Sudhaji as well. In 2011, religious intolerance was reported to be at its height. Hundreds of minorities, women, journalists, and liberals were being killed by Islamist fundamentalist extremists, while the government remained mostly a silent spectator, often only making statements which condemn the ruthless acts of violence by the extremists, but taking no real concrete action against them. In 2014, NGOs estimated that around 1,000 girls from minority groups every year are being forcefully converted to Islam. In 2016, in Sindh province, which is Pakistan's largest Hindu minority, passed a bill that outlawed forced conversions. However, the bill was never ratified by the government. In November 2019, a parliamentary committee was formed to prevent act of forced conversion in Pakistan. During the COVID-19 pandemic in Pakistan, reports emerged that rations were being denied to minority Hindus in the coastal area of Karachi. The Selani Welfare Trust, carrying out the relief aid, said that the aid was reserved for Muslims. On 14th April, the US Commission for International Religious Freedom expressed concern with the discrimination. A survey carried out by All Pakistan Hindu Rights Movement revealed that out of 428 Hindu temples in Pakistan, only around 20 survive today, and they remain neglected by the Evacuee Trust Property Board, which controls those, while the rest had been converted for other uses. Jain Mandir at Jain Mandir Chowk in Lahore was destroyed by the bigoted Muslim mobs in 1992, and the government changed the name of the Jain Mandir Chowk to Babri Masjid Chowk, which became the official name. In May 2014, a member of the ruling Pakistani Muslim League, Dr. Ramesh Kumar, revealed in the National Assembly of Pakistan that around 500 Hindus are migrating from Pakistan to India every year. So there should not be any surprise about plight of Hindus in Pakistan. Unfortunately, Islamist groups in Bangladesh are taking the country to Pakistani path. In Afghanistan, Taliban have not left any possibility for Hindus to stay in Afghanistan. A recent report reveals hardly little over 200 Hindus and Sikhs remain in Afghanistan. Other than those, we should not worry anymore about the plight of Hindus in Afghanistan. However, Jammu and Kashmir being part of India after after revocation of Articles 370 and 35A, can restore Hindu status in current government, it is test of our BJP government. Actually, there is only one word answer to what has been the plight of Hindus in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Kashmir. The answer is ideology. Islamists of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Kashmir cannot respect Hindus at equal level. Resultantly, they will get reciprocal disrespect from fellow Hindus. In my humble opinion, there is a less hope in terms of correcting situation in those countries. We can only focus in Kashmir and rest of India. Hindus have to assert their position all across India. Slowly and gradually, they have to move towards Hindu Rashtra Republic of India. They will meet a lot of international pressure and propaganda against Hindus and Hindutva on this part. Before moving to that direction, Hindu organizations across the globe, especially in the United States, need to pave the path for Hindu Rashtra. So far, credit to Prime Minister Modi, Foreign Minister Jaishankar, NSA Ajit Doval, Home Minister Amit Shah, and some other key ministers. Eventually, Prime Minister Modi has brought India at the level of international stage that India is being recognized as a vital player in world affairs, be it a Quad, a recent Indo-Abrahamic coalition. Arab world wants to work with India and working very closely. Iran wants to work with India. Africa wants to work with India. Russia is working with India. The rest of the world is working with India. Despite China's biggest threat to India, but she wants to work with India as well. Afghanistan and Pakistan cannot be a threat to India due to their own unending political chaos. Islamists in Bangladesh have always been a threat to India and Hindus. They need to be dealt. Islamists in Kerala, Assam, and other Indian states are somehow a threat. They must be handled strategically. Let's come to the solution. The biggest threat to India and Hindus is the propaganda against them within India and outside India. So far, even our current Indian government has not done much in terms of establishing an international standard Western style media outlet. Rather than establishing several media outlets to counter, unlike BBC, Al Jazeera, Turkish TV, Chinese TV, etc., we haven't come up with a single model so far to establish such media outlet or TV channel. Are Hindu groups in the US at least be able to set up such a media outlet that we can counter propaganda against Hindus and Hindus? Unless until we won't counter propaganda against us, we cannot assert our Hindu Rashtra right, and we cannot counter Pakistan and Bangladesh plight on our Hindu brothers and sisters. Hindus have experienced both historic and ongoing religious persecution and systemic violence in the form of forced conversions, documented massacres, demolition and desecration of temples, as well as the destruction of educational centers. While massive in scale, some of these events may need to be viewed in their historic context and relative impact. This needed to be told to the world through Westerner lens. This could only be possible through our own worldwide BBC, Al Jazeera style TV networks. So I conclude my remarks with this solution. So I'll be happy to answer any question if arises in context of my talk. Thank you.
Tahir ji, dhanyavad. There has been a lot of chatter in the chat box. There is an anger, and like Sudhaji said, we should be united. We should be activate ourselves to fight this like Chingari project. So I am really thankful to both speakers, Sudhaji and Tahir Goraji. There are a few questions, and I will try to summarize because there is a lot of anger. People are saying, oh, I didn't know about this, what we could do, what government of India could do. So I'm really happy that your talk have excited people. They are willing to work and they need some guidance. Like Tahir Goraji said, that maybe a TV kind of situation could be there. So let me just start few questions. I know we have about 15 minutes. And first question is, I mean, is the root of terrorism is Quran? That's question to Tahir Goraji. In your opinion, is Quran is the root cause of terrorism? Does it support that kind of that violence against kafirs and conversion? So Tahirji.
Thank you very much. Once I was asked a similar question in a US conference hosted by US Religious Freedom Group. So I responded, I said, surely there are verses in the Quran that talk about killing non-Muslims. But they were said in context of those conflicts in 7th century. In all Abrahamic religions, we can find such hostile verses and hostile statements for sure. But the thing is, in our today's world, where Muslim population is almost over roughly 1.6 billion, if we become disrespectful their sacred books, we'll get more retaliation. In my humble opinion, the solution is to reform Islamic teachings. Christians have done it. Jews have done it. Now it's Muslims' turn to revisit those verses, because we have precedent in Torah or in Bible where there are verses killing. They used to use the term infidels, and the same term carried out by a Muslim as well. So as I say, absolutely there are verses in the Quran that incite violence, that talk about killing non-Muslims. They are there, but the solution is, as I'm a part of the Reformed Muslim movement, the solution is we have to consider those verses in context of only 7th century's early fights. Those verses should not be relevant anymore. Those verses are part of the history. Those should not be implemented. So until unless we do not initiate a reform movement at a mass level, until unless we do not initiate a reform movement for Muslims as well as Islam, there is no solution for the rest of the world. It's not just that the extremist part in Islam is dangerous to Muslims only, it's dangerous for every human being on this planet. So it's a responsibility of each of us to work together to make those verses, to make those teachings irrelevant with time in today's context. It's a very long debate, but I'm happy to engage into this debate anytime. But it is very relevant question our friend put, and I think we should work towards this direction.
Thank you, Tahirji. Now, next question is to Sudhaji. And they are asking what government of India can do about this. That's one question. And other is that there are International Human Rights Commission and United Nations and other things. Have we approached them? And what could be the plan of action to take this Chingari project so it has a wider audience? Sudhaji.
Yes, thank you for that question. I have to say, this is a long game. We're not going to find solutions in the next day or the next month or even in the next year. We're just starting out. So what can the Indian government do? And let me be very honest. I'm not an Indian citizen. I'm proud of my Indian roots and culture. We cannot depend on Indian government to solve our problems. We have to do it ourselves. Every Hindu, wherever you are, whoever you are, you need to stand up and fight for this in your own community. In the United States, when I talk to my lawmakers, they are shocked. They have never heard that Hindus have suffered anything because we have never talked about it. So unless we start speaking up and taking action in our own communities, don't expect change. We are not going to have a knight on a white horse coming to save us. Nobody, no white horse is coming. We have to be the knight on that white horse. And the other question was about the United Nations. Well, let's take a look at that. United Nations Human Rights Commission, who's on it? Pakistan. And Pakistan has been on it for a long time. And every time there is a committee hearing on human rights violations, Pakistan tops the list of all the countries in the world in the number of human rights violations committed by a country. And still, they are on the HRC. What does that say about United Nations? So you are right, Ramji. We have to use the platforms that are available there to take our case to them, fight it. We still have to work with the Indian government and say, when you pass laws like the CAA, launch your best speakers across the world capitals. Have them go share the story of why the law, what does it do, and and dispel the fiction of all of this. Indian government has not done that. Indian consul generals don't do it. I have written to the US, the ambassador from India to the United States, and I said, why is it on the back of the Indian diaspora to fight your battles? No answer. Because it's not their role, I guess. They just go and do cultural events, but nothing to stand up with the Indian diaspora. So at the end of the day, I think what we have to realize is that each of us have to be the Arjunas. We have to fight our own battle. We can be collective, join the Chingari group. We have many Hindu organizations around the globe today. Go to ISKCON temple, don't think of ISKCON as the other. Then we are doing the same thing to them that somebody else is doing to us. They are us. So let us begin to build the bridges and expand our coalition and do not stop talking about these atrocities. I'm so glad HUA is doing this. I'm so glad when Arati Agarwal does a HinduGenocide.com describing a lot of things I never learned in my life, right? So speaking up and educating yourself by listening to talks by experts and then taking action in your own local community, even in India, I would say take action. So that is my recommendation. I don't see, like I said, there is no other way. We each have to take action.
Thank you, Sudhir. So, Ramji, can I break in for a second?
Sure, please.
Okay. Namaste, everyone. Great conversation, and I hate to sort of break the flow of it. Ramji, of course, has the control, but I just wanted to just acknowledge the fact that there is, every time we talk about these issues, our audience gets very excited, and as they should. But unfortunately, the excitement, lasts only a few minutes. As soon as the cameras are off, as soon as they go home and have lunch, the conversation and the issues are forgotten. So we started a project called hindudesha.org. I represent Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, VHPA. AHAD, the American Hindus Against Defamation, is one of our initiatives, and the Dharma Civilization Foundation. Those are the two sponsoring bodies for this project. Our aim is to explore and expose any incidents of what we call Hindu Dvesha, where the incidents of Hindu hatred, whether it's in news media, whether it's in social media, or articles of any sort, and expose and advertise those incidents. We would like this audience, those who are really excited about these issues and want to do something about it, other than just kind of put a few comments in the chat room, we would ask them to kindly, tell us whether they are actually interested in being part of this initiative. I have asked Ankurji to start this very quick survey, and just tell us how many of you are interested in joining this. Now, before you do that, I want to also tell you there is a history, and I want to put this mirror in front of our Hindu audience. There is a history where we started this activity about 6 months ago, 8 months ago. We went through this survey, and we had 120 people signed up. We wrote to each one of them, and about 20 people responded. Out of which, after further discussions, about 10 people actually joined our team. And out of those 10, today we have about 5 or 6 active. So I just want to make this point, very clear that, our own Hindu community, they get excited, but then that excitement dies away very quickly. So unless you get you get active, you have no right to blame anyone, including the Indian government or anyone else. So with that, please respond to the survey. Thank you very much. Ramji, floor is yours.
Thank you, Jayji, and hopefully this survey results will be shared quickly with this audience.
So far, we have 66 out of 173 people completing it. So please fill out the survey. Look for it. It's a poll in the Zoom, and I'll share it once we get hopefully another 100 people filling it out.
Thank you, Ankur, and thank you, Jayji. Very well said, because that excitement should turn into action. So I'm glad that this survey is being done, and hopefully people will come forward and remain interested in these topics. And just one final concluding thing. I mean, it was a wonderful talk, both of you. Thank you very much. You highlighted current situations. Let Sudhaji give her concluding remarks, and then we can close this presentation.
Sure.
Sudhaji.
I just want to say that I think we have talked enough about what everybody can do. All I want to say is that do not get discouraged when you see a lot of negative stuff coming again and again and again. I want to remind everyone, again, this is a long game. The Hindus are starting to become active kind of now. Is it late? It's never too late. It's always the right time to start. And so our journey is starting. So do not get discouraged when you see Congress doing a bill here against Hindus, or the university doing it. You just challenge them. And what I have learned in the last couple of years is that when I challenge a lawmaker, when I challenge someone who is putting a wrong narrative, they back down. In schools, we have seen the CAA come into schools in the Hindu curriculum. Parents have called us. We have taken, we have respectfully asked for time with these schools. We have talked to them. And when we present the facts, they back down. They understand. They want to work with us, collaborate with us on the teaching of Hinduism. So all I want to say is that stay focused. Don't get distracted. Stay engaged with HUA and other organizations. Learn. I was a chemistry major in my undergraduate in India. I did not know steel was developed by Hindus. Okay. I learned it only in the last few years after reading Rajiv Malhotraji's books. Just imagine. But hey, I'm happy to learn. And so you can learn at any time. You need to instill your pride in your culture in your children. Go, Balakendra, Balavihar, I love it. But you also need addition to that. In classes being offered by so many organizations now, the Hindu Parent Network and many others on the history and culture of India. So there are many things as parents, as individuals we can do. And I ask, the 169 folks here right now to join HUA, take classes, learn, join an organization in India or elsewhere, and be an Arjuna as of today. Thank you.